Niners at the Falcons. And really the number one storyline in this game is going to be the injuries for the Niners. There are a ton of guys that are banged up. Just listen to head coach Kyle Shanahan earlier today.
All right, injuries, we got Mosley's out, Jimmy Ward out, Armstead's out, Trent Williams out, Kinlaw out, Banks is questionable, Bosa's questionable, and Croft is questionable.
That's
Good
8 guys.
Lord. Man.
That's 8. It's a roll call of Niners that are banged up. Specifically about Nick Bosa, here was the coach on an update.
Yeah, he looked good, but everything's walked through today too, so hopefully he would. It's not bad enough to say he's out, but you got to be careful always with whoever has that, and obviously especially Nick.
Rami, you're with me on this, right? Sit this guy?
Yeah.
Sit Nick Bosa?
Yes, yeah, you sit Nick Bosa. I think this is a game you can win without Nick Bosa. You save him for the Chiefs, and you hope he's good for the Chiefs. You don't even push him for that game too hard. But if there's still a little something going on and he misses a practice or two next week, but you want to throw him out there to try and slow down Patrick Mahomes and that Chiefs offense, okay, I get that. Even with all the other injuries, Nick, I don't think you need to do that against this Falcons team. I just don't.
I think the worst thing that the Niners could do is rush Bosa back, and then they're stuck in a situation where he tweaks it, or even worse, injures the groin at a significant degree, and then you're looking at the kind of scenario where he's out for several weeks. Last thing you need if you're the Niners, you're going to make sure that, hey, if he feels good, if he looks good, if he's, near 100%, 90%, whatever number you want to put on it, sure, take a shot. But if he's, still limited like he was today in a walkthrough, no need to get him out there on Sunday. Talking about this game on Sunday, Rami, between the 49ers and Falcons, with the injuries kind of as the backdrop, what are your expectations for this game? Do you think this game could be tougher than many people think for the Niners on Sunday?
I think it's tougher than we thought, just a week ago when we were looking at the two games they had coming up and going, Carolina and Atlanta, man, these are two games you should be able to win pretty easily. I think the difficulty level goes up a little bit with all these injuries, but I still think it's a game that they should win. Like going into Carolina last week, Nick, you and I both said this should be a blowout. I used the Draymond Green analogy and saying what they should do to the Carolina Panthers last week. I don't know that I'd go that far when you're without, because they're not just without guys. They're without some guys who they rely on to be game changers, starting with Bosa. But Emmanuel Mosley was having an amazing season before he tore his ACL. And you might look at that and go, well, at least you just got Jimmy Ward back. But you lost him to a broken hand, literally one play into coming in. You lost maybe the best offensive tackle in this league in Trent Williams. And the list goes on and on. Armstead and Kinlaw. These are guys that you expect to be playmakers and game changers. And even against a team the caliber of the Falcons, I look at it and go, okay, this gets a little bit more difficult than we thought it was just a week ago.
Cattles and Rami, Sactown Sports on this Friday. I think Atlanta can hang around in this game.
Me too.
When you look at the offensive line for Atlanta, that's really their strong point. Their offensive line has played really good football this year. They're number 3 in the NFL in pass block win rate. And when we talk about pass block win rate, we talk about the pass rush, right? And when you look at the Niners and where this defensive line is, don't forget, you go back to Wednesday, every single starter on the defensive line on Wednesday missed practice. Kinlaw is out. Armstead is out. I don't think Bosa will play in this game. So when you look at this offensive line of the Falcons and their ability to protect the passer, I don't think the Niners are going to be able to get consistent pressure on Marcus Mariota. On top of that, you think about the mobility of Mariota and his ability to kind of extend plays. That could create some havoc against this Niners defense. And when you look, Rami, offensively for the Niners, there's really one guy. There's one guy that you need to take out of this football game, and we all know who it is defensive tackle Grady Jarrett. Kyle Shanahan's teams in the past have had some issues with big, bulky defensive tackles. And when you look at the Falcons, they're number 6 with the pass rush win rate. So they're beating offensive lines. They're beating a lot of those offensive lines on the interior. So those are the two things. When you look at the trenches, and I know it's not sexy to talk about, the trenches and offensive line play and defensive line play, but this offensive line for Atlanta, they might get the better of this thin defensive line for San Francisco. And on the other side, you got to watch out for Grady Jarrett against the interior offensive line of the Niners.
Because that's where, and the Niners offensive line has been up and down. Last week was an okay week on the edges. They had some problems, but you're right, Nick. And I think last week going into Raiders and Chiefs, I said, this is a game that you put on Derek Carr and Devontae Adams. Like, you put those two guys together thinking, you were going to have to win some shootouts. And this is one of those shootouts that you have to win. I wouldn't say this is going to be a shootout between the 49ers and the Falcons on Sunday. But no. I'm going to put this on Jimmy Garoppolo. Not that he has to outscore the Falcons, put up a bunch of points to outscore the Falcons, but this is on Jimmy Garoppolo and this offense to carry this team to a victory for a week with the defense sort of limping into this one. The defense is your strong suit, and it will be what gets you where you're trying to go at the end of the day, which is a Super Bowl. But this is a week where you need Jimmy Garoppolo and the offense to come out and win you a football game and maybe score a few more points than you usually will need from the 49ers offense with the historic rate at which the defense has been playing in the first 5 weeks, and especially early in this game, Nick. The only thing the Falcons have been able to do offensively is run the football. If Jimmy can come out and give you a 2-3 score lead quick, make them one-dimensional, and make Marcus Mariota try and come back and beat you, that's a recipe for disaster for the Atlanta Falcons. And I think that's how you win this football game and maybe even make it a little bit easy despite all the injuries.
It's a fascinating matchup. I'll get to Jimmy in a minute, but when you talk about the run game of Atlanta, they've been really good running the football. They're a top five rushing offense this year. So again, when you look defensively, that front seven for San Francisco has to play really well on Sunday. You've got to try to beat that offensive line a couple of times with the thin defensive line to get after Mariota and shake him a little bit. And then you've got to be disciplined against the run because Atlanta will run the football on you. So can that front seven show up? As far as Jimmy G, here was Falcons defensive coordinator Dean Pease this week talking about the quarterback.
I think he's playing really good. I've never ever thought he didn't play good. He's had moments. What quarterback hasn't? It's just it's funny how guys get things said about them in every position and then all of a sudden somebody says something about a guy, and then that's what he has to live with for the rest of his career or something. I think the guy plays great. I've always thought he played great. Ate us alive last year. Why would I not think he doesn't play great? And they're winning. What do you want the quarterback to do? That's what he does. They're winning.
Jimmy should be good in this game on Sunday. The Atlanta defensive backs have not played great football. I expect the Niners to win on Sunday, Rami, but I do think it'll be closer than some people might anticipate.
Do you think he means that, or is that just the opposite of bulletin board material? He's just like, man, Jimmy's amazing. He's never not been great. He said he's never not been. Jimmy's never had a bad game. Jimmy's never not been great.
He's the GOAT, Rami. You didn't know that?
Greatest of all time, Jimmy Garoppolo.
That's really going out of your way to not provide bulletin board material when you're asked about the opposing team's quarterback. That was, he poured the sugar on that one. Made it sound real sweet about Jimmy Garoppolo.
Flawless.